Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Vanderbilt Peabody Career Services webinar. Excited y'all are joining us here today for lunchtime, and hopefully we'll have a chance to address your um, questions, things that you're curious about from the career services side. We also have some of our admissions team and leadership here to that can maybe go a little broader with questions if you have those. So think of those and type them in as we're going along, and we'll go for about 20 minutes of content here, just talking about different scenarios of students that we work with, some of our results, and then we really want to focus this on your concerns from that point. My name is Jeff Henley. We can go to the next slide, Brian. And I'm the director of Peabody Career Services, and I'm in the picture at the top on the left-hand picture, and I'm the one without the hat. The groups that I work with are human and organizational development, so that would include CDA and human development counseling, special education, and then all of the areas of teaching and learning.
And my name is Kathleen Rawl. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to chat with you today. And I work with the other two departments at Peabody, which would be leadership policy and organizations and psychology and human development. And I'm also an alumna of Peabody. And so I think I can speak for both of us and say that Jeff and I both really love the work that we do. We love getting to connect with students, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions today.
Yep, right on. Exactly. So maybe start with kind of an overview of our mission and the things that we do, and just at heart believe that you're going to go out and make a profound difference in the lives of students and your clients, and really believe there's a societal loss when Vanderbilt Peabody students don't connect. We want to make sure that's a meaningful connection for you, and go through the process that really sets you up to manage the multiple career transitions you may have over the course of your lifetime. And what we are is your strategic career partner, and as you can see on the screen, we help you identify your career path, build your pitch, and connect with employers as you launch your search, as you launch your career, and you manage the process. So you'll go back in and implement the plan and conduct extensive outreach. And we kind of guide this also with another partner that's not up here on the table, or your program directors. So we will meet actually next month, month after next in June, with your program directors, and kind of been doing this for the past 10 years to think about what went well over the course of the year, ways that we might tweak it just a little bit. And we actually go student by student and kind of find out where everybody is, and think about how we're going to reach out to make sure people are successful.
Great. So we want to kick it off by telling you about some of our results. We think these are important things for you to know about, for us to share. We know that committing to graduate school is a very big decision, and one that we know you don't take lightly. And so we think that you're investing this time and these resources to come to graduate school, and we want to share with you that we are confident that our students are very successful after graduation. And so if you look at this slide, we've got, these are numbers from our last academic year. So of graduates in August 2017, December 2017, and May 2018, we had 338. And that middle number, that 95%, is the one that we are really passionate about sharing with you. That's our knowledge rate. And that means that 95% of those 338 students remained in contact with our office. And we think that is such an important number to share with you because it speaks to the relationship that we develop with our students from the very beginning. And so that's an important number that we would encourage you to ask of the other programs that you're looking at as well. And that knowledge rate means that they stay in contact with us, and they are connecting with our office, with our resources, with alumni, and that's something that's very important in the job search process. And then finally, 97% of those were successfully employed by September 30th. And so, I also want to add to that those students, those 97% were successfully employed in roles that they were prepared to do by the courses and the programs that they were in here at Peabody. And so these are not just any jobs, these are jobs that they were prepared to do by their programs at Peabody. And I just want to say too, some of you I know were at Welcome Weekend and maybe are seeing similar slides. we think that these are important slides to repeat. So we promise we have other content as well. So stick with us. And then we can go to the next slide. So geographically, we always get a lot of questions about this. For those of you who are not from Middle Tennessee, people often wonder, well, what if I don't want to stay in Nashville? Although I promise you'll move to Nashville and you're going to love it. It's a great city.
There's a lot going on in Nashville.
So much going on. If you've ever come to visit, you know that our skyline is full of cranes. There's a lot of growth and development here.
It's the new state bird, Kathleen.
It is the new state bird. And, Amazon is coming to Nashville. There's a lot of exciting things happening, which means there's a lot of jobs and opportunities. So a lot of our graduates decided last year to stay here in Tennessee. And so that's exciting. We've got a huge alumni base here, and we love to connect with those people. So, but if you don't want to stay in Tennessee, there are certainly opportunities for you to go other places in the U.S. And I think sometimes people that are not from, Tennessee or the Southeast think, oh, that's not really a place that I see myself staying long term. And that's okay too. We've got alumni spread really all throughout the country. And so, that's a big part of the work that we do is connecting our students with alumni. So a lot of times students will, come in and say, hey, I know that I'm from Seattle and I'm going to be moving back to Seattle. So that's one of the first things that we do is to connect them with alumni living in Seattle. So that's kind of the spread across the US. And then, of course, we also have students that choose the international route as well. We had 13% of our students do that last year. And this would be international students going back to their home country or domestic students choosing to launch their career outside of the US. So we truly have kind of a global reach with our alumni. And that is always really exciting to see where our students land and just kind of make those connections with our students and alumni.
And in addition to the numbers and kind of ensuring that people are going out and launching their careers, we want you to be happy with the process. Enjoy the advising appointments. We try to have meaningful interactions where you're going to come in and interact and kind of develop career advocates as within the second year class as well as with alumni. And 98% of our students rated the individual advising appointments as excellent or very good. So we do meet with every single one of you for a 30 to 45 minute session. And it's a very productive session that we have, as well as usually enjoyable. See some of the comments on what people are doing in terms of both how we help people build a pitch. And then the final part is thinking about how do we connect with alumni. And then kind of down the right hand side is the top one is one of our networking events. The second event looks like it's where a peer career mentor is interacting with the first year student, and then the last event is an interview relay, and it's kind of fun to see alumni gather with students to provide guidance and start to advocate for people as they launch their careers.
Great. And then the next couple of slides, we want to go through some scenarios of a typical student that we would work with. So just to kind of give you an idea, if you are, if you're thinking that you are one of these students, this might be how we approach collaborating with you throughout your process. So the first one is probably our most popular major here at Peabody, which would be undecided. A lot of people come in and they're like, I know I want to study this, but I'm not actually sure how that translates into a career. I don't know what that means for me. But that's the beauty of, a 1 or 2 year program. You have time to think about that. And so we want to make sure that it's okay if you are coming into Peabody and you're not sure what your career path is. That is common, and we love to work with students like that. So something that we try to partner with our students is to connect you early in your first semester with a peer career mentor. And we just selected our mentors for next year. We have 42 peer career mentors, and those are second year students that are selected and trained, and they are partnered with our first year students. And they are a great resource because they've just gone through the process of the first year of graduate school. They know what that looks like, the challenges, they know how to approach the internship search. So they are a great resource for our first year students. And they can be really helpful for those students who are kind of undecided and are still doing some exploration. And the other thing is that, like Jeff just said, we meet individually with every student in the first 6 or 8 weeks of the semester. And so that's where we can really start to talk about, okay, you're undecided on what you'd like to do, but here are some things that it looks like are themes on your resume, or things that you're really good at, or skills that you might have, and here are some ways that you might apply those to potential careers. And so that's always an interesting, it's a fun way to kind of approach that with the student. And then finally, that picture of the Higher Education Administration, that screen grab there is, those are our program summary sheets, and we develop those every year. And we would be happy to share those with you. We'll send you an email with the one for your program specifically, but it's a really helpful way, I think, for undecided students to see a snapshot of the jobs that our alumni have gone into after graduating. And so it can help you think, oh, I didn't realize that you could do that with this degree. And I think you'll see some really great numbers, but also it might help you get some ideas for things that you might want to pursue while you're a student here.
Nice job, Kathleen. And the second scenario is a long distance job search. So another common interaction that we have when we meet with people for the first time is they're like, well, I'm thinking about going somewhere besides the Nashville area. So kind of the goal with this is to develop a search plan and utilize the breaks to target alumni. And this is a big reason behind why we start so early, is we want to be able to catch up with you in September, October, so you can think about your fall break, your semester break, your spring break, your summer breaks, to start to think about who is it that you might meet over the course of those interactions, and then also kind of empower your network to do that. And so during that individual session, as Kathleen alluded to, we have a goal of finding 3 employers and alumni by the end of that first session that would be great advocates in a particular geographic area that you could meet with and that could really help you start to get connected. And a lot of times these people really serve as a catalyst for your job search and help you move forward with that. And so some of the things that we do on campus, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see it's our annual alumni event at homecoming. So we have alumni come in, and sometimes people are coming in from all over the country for that, and separate people out a little bit by programs, and you have a chance to interact and meet people at that. The one directly below that, where we see a room full of people sitting across the table, is our K-12 interview relay. And for this particular interview relay, and really all of our interview relays, but this one in particular, the interviewers come from all over the country, and they also come armed with jobs. They love Peabody graduates, and again, this year we had several people get offers at the end of a 15-minute mock interview, which was pretty astounding to think about. And then on the left-hand side is a poster session. So you may hear about some of these same resources or same events, but depending on your longer-term goals, you may utilize these just a little different. And often our students, for their summer internships, travel to wildly diverse areas of the country and even the world to start to, and you can network with them to find out about connections that they've got, and really get pulled into that type of assistance for your long distance job search. And then the next one is marketing your skills. So you've figured out what you want to do, and you're thinking about how is it you become positively memorable in the minds of key stakeholders. And this is probably some of the things that you think about through your resume, through interviews and that, but also maybe some of the things that you don't think about through the questions that you ask of your program directors and classmates of what you might say about yourself when you're introduced for the first time. And again, this is why we start early. We actually will begin before your orientation with you with looking at a wandering map where we identify the experiences that you've enjoyed the most, where you're starting to develop mastery of some skills, and thinking about how do you develop these into true talents and talents within the field that you're going into. So for, if you're going into a school counseling type of a role, or you may think about how do you go about building relationships? Have you done this in the past? And then how will this look a little different maybe with the clients that you're starting to meet? And then you have it, so start to identify very early the skills and talents that you have, and then develop that into the start of a compelling pitch very early in your program. And then the other part of this is asking great questions. So your program directors are, really, and your professors are world-renowned researchers with contacts all over the world. And so starting to think about during those advising sessions, those early introductions, how do you kind of plan a little bit about what makes you a great candidate as well as what you want to do? And that's a very eager group to help you, as well as classmates, because everybody's going to go out and do different searches. But some of the specific things that we'll work with is up in the upper right-hand corner, you see a peer career mentor kind of working with a group from the it's higher ed admin. So it's a higher ed administration group. And in this one, they're talking about, okay, as you're reaching out to alumni for the first time, what are the questions that you might ask to start to learn as much as you can about not only the profession that you're going into, but the specific culture at that organization. And two wonderful things happen when you do informational interviews. Is one is you really learn a lot about the field that you're going into. And then the second thing is you start to, they have no doubt about your interest in going into the organization and start to find ways to help you out. Immediately below that is everybody, and the two pictures on the bottom are our interview relays. And in this event, it's really geared up as a mock interview, but we invite employers and alumni to come back for these sessions. And during these sessions, it's a 20-minute mock interview with 15 minutes of the Q&A that they would normally ask during a session, and then 3 to 5 minutes of feedback on what you can do to get just a little bit better. What can you do to get just a little bit better today? And sometimes it's just that little bit better that really distinguishes the candidates from getting the job offer versus, wow, you looked really great. We hope to see you next time we have an opening. So we want to make sure you're getting that offer the first time that you go in and start to interview.
Great. And then the fourth scenario we think that we see a lot with our students is when a student comes in and knows exactly what they want to do, and they have a specific career in mind. They just have to take the classes and get the training and graduate and get that job. And so that's always exciting for us too, for the students that know exactly what they want to do. And that with that student, we really want to help them identify specific organizations and just do an information search. And so being intentional about in that first or second semester while you're here of targeting organizations and, kind of thinking outside the box. I know I want to do X, but I'm not sure of the list of organizations that, would really allow me to do that. And so again, going back to that initial individual appointment that you would have with me or with Jeff, we would really take advantage of LinkedIn and kind of dig into that. And hopefully a lot of you have a LinkedIn account, but if you don't, or you've never used it before, or you don't like it, we are happy to help you with that and help you change your mind, because we think it's a great resource and we use that quite a bit. And so we will sit down with you. And something that we do in our individual appointments with students in the first semester is to really help you connect with at least 3 alumni who are working in an area that is in your interest and in your specialty. And so we want to connect you directly with those people to help you kind of launch your career search and ask those questions. So that's our last scenario that we want to talk about. And I guess while we put this next slide up, please feel free to enter any questions that you might have. And there are no bad questions here, so don't be afraid to ask questions. And while you're typing your questions in, we'll just say that if you have additional questions after this that you think of, you can always feel free to email us, pcs@vanderbilt.edu. And we'd be happy to follow up with you.
One of the things I absolutely love, and thank you all again for joining us today. We really appreciate you for coming in and listening, as well as for your interest in Vanderbilt Peabody. And one of the things I've thoroughly enjoy about this career is even after 30 years, it's never been the same scenario twice. You see some commonalities around people, but people bring different skill sets to the table, have different interests as far as where they want to go with organizations, and even different characteristics of organizations. So it just presents infinite possibilities, and that's the main reason why we have the personalization that we do. And both Kathleen and I just really enjoy that, and I think I've said over and over again, the biggest thrill of our job is meeting you and working with students and helping with that. So I see that we have a question come in, a great question. It says, when should students start the job search? And my take on this is that you've already started the job search. You're thinking about career options that are out there, and I would maybe break it down into two different types of approaches. One is the proactive approach, and one is the reactive approach. And the reactive approach is when you're actually applying for positions that you see advertised and going through that process. And that probably actually begins in the last semester that you're here. But the proactive job search is what you're already doing. It's gathering information about different career fields that are out there, being passionately curious about the field and thinking about how do you meet people and ask questions and do that. And that starts in really moving forward before in early August, before you actually start here on campus. We'll reach out to you to get your resume, get you to join the LinkedIn groups. At orientation, we have about an hour session with you. And then during that early 30 to 45-minute meeting, we'll really start to dramatically advance your job search. And so it starts very early, and we I like to say at orientation, and Kathleen will probably roll her eyes at me here, but we work with you twice, early and often.
Jeff, what do you think distinguishes your office from other career offices?
Oh, great question. So I think the things that I would go back to is what Kathleen mentioned right off the bat is we go back and track our students, and we know where 94, 95, 96% of students are, and this is a very active process. We start early meeting with you, devoting time to your success, and are very invested in your success. And then we'll also reach out to you starting closer on a very personalized basis. Once again, when you're getting close to graduation, and start seeing how the job search is going, making sure that you're still feeling comfortable with the way that the number of kind of positions that you found to apply for, how the interviews are going, and that really just is. So we're not going to send out a survey to you to ask where you've been 6 months after graduation. We're going to work with you closely to ensure that you land. And that kind of alludes to Kathleen's first point of that 95% knowledge rate. We know where you are, and then the employment rate kind of leads on from that. The second thing is we have over 150 different alumni and employers come in to develop to help with your career, to be advocates for you. So you'll have active interaction with this group throughout your tenure at Vanderbilt Peabody. They'll do everything from help review your resumes. They'll give you feedback on interviews and doing that. And so you not only have general feedback, you will have real specific feedback of what this looks like inside of my organization. And then I think another big differentiator is that group of 40 peer career mentors, and they're second-year students that have just been through the process. They built up a network. They know what works from it, and that just makes it a little bit better every year. And and I will echo Kathleen's excitement. We've got a phenomenal group of peer career mentors coming in to work with you. So that would be the three things that I would think of.
Yeah, I would just reemphasize the individualized approach. I think that is something that really sets our office apart. And we know that your job search is very different from anyone else's in your cohort or at Peabody. And so it doesn't make sense for us to kind of offer general tips. It really makes the most sense for us to work with students on a pretty individual basis and help you, walk alongside you, like Jeff said, partner with you strategically to think about how you can land in the best role possible after graduating. And so I think that is, just to kind of reiterate what you said, Jeff, I think that's the biggest differentiator for us.
It does seem like the alumni network is very engaged in the Peabody Career Services funnel, pipeline. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're so engaged? Because I've worked at different institutions and I haven't really seen that level of engagement. And I think that's testament to the connections and the relationships that you build. But what do you think is that difference? Because I think that's sort of some of the secret sauce.
I think one thing I'll speak to is just this culture of careers that we've created at Peabody. So starting at orientation, or really even before orientation, we've built this culture of careers so that people are thinking about this not just in their final semester when they're getting ready to graduate, but from the first moment they set foot on campus. And that culture carries through for our alumni too. Even after they're not on campus, they're very willing to give back because they benefited from the support of alumni when they were students. And so it's just this kind of constant feedback loop and this circle of giving back and this culture of careers that we've developed here.
It's special. I think that's hit the nail on the head, and it's meaningful connections. So as people are coming in for the past decade, we've asked students to join our LinkedIn groups and to come back to campus and can give feedback to students, to serve as advocates in different geographic areas. And I know they enjoyed their time at Peabody, and it's something that's really wonderful about this place is an alumni's willingness to give back, give of their time, give of their resources to certainly help students determine, from the career side where they want to go.
It also seems like a sort of a lifelong career service opportunity. If you're in that strong of a network with your alums, because you've been associated with Peabody, 5-10 years down the line, if you're looking to change jobs or if you have to relocate because a spouse is relocating, that you have sort of that built-in network as an alum that you can also tap into. So it seems like it's also quite a benefit as well. Do you have some anecdotes of or recollections of alumni that have sort of tapped into that network?
I just talked to an alum last week who graduated from our education policy program 5 years ago and is going through a career transition. And we just connected, and she's living in Germany now. And she said, "Hey, do we have any other alumni in Germany? I don't know anybody here." So we went to LinkedIn together. We found some other alumni in Germany, and she's kind of starting with that. But I think our alumni know that that's a resource that they can always go back to, is that a really strong alumni network.
That's amazing.
And they also come back for hiring purposes.
Right.
They know the quality of the education and the type of graduate that's coming out. So we regularly hear back from our alumni about giving opportunities back, and so it is a pretty plugged in group.
That's great. Any of our attendees have questions that they are longing to ask?
And again, feel free to follow up with us afterwards if you have specific questions about your own scenario. We would be happy to connect with you and answer those questions whenever.
Absolutely.
What are some of the specific times that students would interact with employers?
Great question. The specific things that we mentioned, the number of employers, but the first one that comes to mind, it's all employers coming back for our multiple interview relays. So and within this, it's kind of geared as both a training event and a connection event where alumni and employers come back to ask, and they ask the questions that they would ask during the hiring process. So and then they give feedback on that. So what you did well and how to improve. And so they're actively involved in that particular process. We have in the fall, it's a career fair, but it's a career fair with a twist where students bring their resumes and they try out their networking skill with actual recruiters from organizations, and they'll go up and get a chance to get different insights into what people are looking for during those kind of the minutiae of interactions and those kind of the tough interactions at a career fair. What they, it really helps you as an applicant get into the minds of what does a recruiter at a Charlotte Mecklenburg schools or another employer look for when they're going through big thick groups, thick stacks of resumes. And then the final interactions are through some of our networking events. You think of the alumni receptions and things like that, where we have a pretty big group of alumni and recruiters coming back to interact with students. And then the final one might be a little more passive, but we have been very intentional and active and have over it's well over 2,000 now, alumni in our kind of our core Peabody group that stay really active and seem like they're a group that's very open to spread out, geographically dispersed and willing to kind of interact with students too.
And we just had another question pop up here. How was the employment rate for international students working in the U.S. after graduation? That's a great question. Our international students are in those same results numbers that we have, so they fall into that 97% employment rate. And we recognize for sure that there are some additional steps that are required if you're an international student looking for employment here in the U.S. And so we partner with our International Student Services Office to make sure that our international students are up to date and aware of any stipulations or new requirements from the federal level, and just kind of help them along with that timeline and that process. And so that's something that we are aware of, and we work with our international students on that for sure. Would you add anything to that, Jeff?
Yeah, and certainly, again, a very special place in our heart as far as we know the sacrifices that you're making and want to make sure that it's fruitful on the career side for you. And for me, I've been working, since 25 years with international students, and would kind of go back and think about, if I was going to break down the two things that you want to do is finding employers that can hire you. So we are very active with that and kind of know where our alumni have gone. And then also part of it is educating recruiters that they can hire you. You assume that they would know that, and most of them don't, because you can come out for 1 year fresh out of Vanderbilt or any master's offering institution with a year of eligibility to work at the organization, and then kind of educating them on the H-1B process, and then really tapping into the identification of skills almost goes to a whole new level of thinking about what are the unique skills that you bring to the table that even domestic students don't, and starting to think about, okay, now which organizations may be really interested in that particular skill set, and then how do you go about approaching them depending on where you want to be.
And then there's another question. I wonder where most students go to work, government, NGO, or others. That's a great question. We typically break that down into about 7 different categories, and that would be K-12 education, higher ed, continuing education. There's a handful of students that continue on for a doctoral program. Nonprofit is another sector. And then within the K-12 sector, I guess we divide that into public, private, and charters. I'm missing a sector there. So I would say, where will most students go to work? We have a lot of different programs here at Peabody, 17 or 18, I think, master's programs. So it really varies program to program. But if you have a specific interest in a nonprofit organization, that's for sure something that we will work with you to kind of target those organizations and kind of be strategic about finding alumni that work there. So I'm not sure that I totally answered that question, but I would be happy to follow up with you via email about that one, and I can give you more specific numbers on the breakdown of the percentages.
And I want to frame it a little different in coming in and saying that other than Metro Nashville, it's rare for any employer here to come in and hire more than one student. So that kind of drives within our office the importance of the individualization and thinking about where is it that you want to go, and then we'll go back and identify specific organizations and people that you would contact from that point. We do. I think Kathleen definitely nailed the broader ranged types of organizations where people go out and work, but it is driven very much by the program that you would come into.
This might be a piggyback kind of a question to that answer, Jeff and Kathleen. I know many of the students here have either a practical experience, an internship, a research assistantship or association. How does that factor into their job search preparedness, and or are there pipelines within that as well that you've seen as a pattern of in your years here?
What I would say to that is this kind of speaks back to the importance of reaching out to program directors and really understanding at a very deep level kind of what that job search process looks like. Because if you're going into a program like higher ed administration, the internship is a really important part of this. So the timing of the interview relay is in the first year, about the time people are starting to think about looking for internship and practicum experiences. So when they often will get offers from that, but it's timed at a point where then they will go out and start to really land those practicums and internships, and then they launch into their second year from that point, as far as thinking about what that process might look like a little bit. Whereas for a program like a lot of the teaching and learning licensure programs, they have built into that program, they have the student teaching and practicum experiences and fantastic opportunities where you usually get exposure to multiple types of schools and organizations. So for the school counseling program, you would go into a elementary school, a middle school, and a high school as part of your experience. And so you get a feel for that, but then you start building out your network. And so for that one in particular, the interview relay is timed at a point where you're getting ready to launch the job search in the second year. And so that's a reason for that one in particular, that there's a lot of job offers coming out of that one. So it's the process varies from program to program, and if you will, imagine a scenario of a just-in-time career services where we work with the program directors in each of our programs to think about what is the career need of our students at those times, and then delivering that to ensure success, and also to ensure that we're coming in and you're being maximally effective in how you're applying your time and resources.
Great.
That's all the questions we see.
Well, it looks like thanks again for coming in and participating with this. If you have other questions, and a lot of times it's 35 minutes from now after the webinar is over, you think, I meant to ask this. Please email us at pcs@vanderbilt.edu. It's on the PowerPoint slide there. And I would enjoy talking to you and catching up. And also, like we said all the way along, very much see this as an individualized process, and would love to hear your specific questions and help you understand those, or maybe think about your career steps from that point.
Thanks so much, Jeff and Kathleen.
Thank you all.